Good morning. I'm Alex. I'm driving a car and I am trying to plan my life. That is the topic of today's video. So I've recently gone through a big career change, moved from, kind of like big software company over, over to a little like startup studio. And I'm only just starting to get adjusted to it. Lots of stuff going on. But it's a huge change in just the way I think about things, conduct myself. Obviously, just all the normal new job stuff with new commute, new people, this and that, new schedule. So I'm trying to figure out for myself what are the things that are most important to me. As I make the move into this new life here, and I guess you can join me too, and we can discover what that means together. Maybe some interesting things as to how I'm thinking. And let me explain kind of how we got here. So my old position, I was a software engineer. Hired right outside of college into a big company. I worked there for almost for 3.5 years plus another year of like an internship that we'll call it like 4.5 years. And things started out, as just like kind of a standard software engineering job, just kind of coming in, getting bug reports, going around making fixes, until I got assigned to this sort of nightmare project. And the nightmare project involved frequent deliveries to a customer who kind of wasn't aware of what they were doing. A customer happened to have all of these restrictions placed on them, so it made getting new builds to and from them like a major hassle, and our existing like build system was just a complete disaster. We had myself and others were having to stay up at night till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning anytime we wanted to release, just because everything was so shakily built that if anything went the slightest bit wrong, basically we'd wake up in the morning the next day dead in the water. So at some point I went in and fixed that. We call that DevOps, I guess. It involves a bunch of like creating CI/CD pipelines, doing some re-architecture, setting up testing, doing all this stuff, and eventually we ended up with a product that was super convenient for the developers to go into and release any given part of with full quality that we could assure, and really good for the customer because they were getting things in a much faster cadence with much more traceable, and it was a lot cleaner way of working. So I kind of took that. I took this was like the first thing I think I'd really ever done that was kind of just like off my own agency, and made that really work, and ran with that as far as I could. I started reading all these business books, all these books on the actual DevOps kind of adjacent topics, self-help, success-related stuff. And I turned myself just from junior software engineer very quickly into rising business leader within the company, within the business unit there. And with that came a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles. I ran into some obstacles just with like the way the existing company structure kind of worked, with the culture as well. Very, very slow place, very slow moving, very resistant to change or adapting new technologies. Unfortunately, there just really wasn't enough of a culture of improvement and of moving things forward, to the point where I was getting resistance on just like really small, little petty things, that and playing politics more than actually going in and just implementing like CI for some code base, right? So that was at some point I decided kind of I'm putting in a lot of this effort into this movement here, and it seems like the company is not really buying what I'm selling at some level. So I decided to start looking elsewhere, pursuing some other ventures. I spent like a year and a half doing that, and finally I got a phone call from a recruiter. After I was just like applying to some jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever. I don't think any of those really went anywhere. But I got a call from a recruiter who described, we've got this new startup here that we're looking for guys to do, and they're having a huge problem with, their DevOps stuff. Of their builds are also very inconsistent and flaky. All of this stuff is currently very manual, error prone, and they're looking for some guy to come in and and do the CI/CD thing and write all that stuff and really own it. And I interviewed with them. It went well, and then I didn't hear from them for a couple of months, and lo and behold, I get a call back out of the blue. And it turns out I had gotten the position. So that's kind of the story of where I am now, how I ended up there. And I guess here are the important things to me, the big takeaways from going through all of that effort of what worked and kind of what didn't. And I guess if you are also, if you're in a similar position to me, pretty junior software engineer, right? Or someone who's looking to make even just like make a big career move or something like this. This is kind of hopefully you get some information here that helps you. So like I said, the very first thing that really mattered, step one of all of this was to build something that actually that is actually valuable to people. And of course, you need to have the skill and ability to figure out what that is. So the thing that I built was this very big CI/CD system for this very large code base with a bunch of like very useful features to it, and that we knew had an immediate market of myself and the other developers on that project, as well as the actual like external customer that we were delivering software to. This is I think this is like an oft repeated thing of like you should try building for the audience of yourself, right? Because you know what is missing kind of in your life. And what would make it better, and if you at least if you build the thing in that case, and it does, no one else really wants it, then it'll have helped you out in the very rate. So that, and being able to experience like just the I don't know, just like the much better flow in working with that setup versus some kind of like old manual build system. It was just an incredible difference. Worlds apart, not having to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning anymore. But it did require a lot of extra effort, to be honest, to go build that thing. I didn't just do it during my like 9 to 5 time. This was something that I kept on working because it was something that we thought would actually help. That kind of believed in, and that really took it a very long way. And then the next step from there was, after we had, I had gotten it in place, got it working with, myself on this one project, I showed my manager, my boss, and from there, the interest for that technology and for doing those things kind of really grew very quickly. They were already planning kind of like a task force within the group to go look into using CI/CD. This is a company, again, very slow moving, never even really touched that stuff in the past. And it took about maybe 1.5 meetings for them to give me full reins on that group and lead the charge on actually bringing that the DevOps, the pipelines, all that crap over to the rest of the like business unit. So that is step one, I guess. Well, let's call it there. Step one: build, make yourself valuable. And whether that is building something really good, which I did, whether that's becoming like a really important, like a really useful subject matter expert on something that people are care about, something like a very marketable, high demand skill within like your circle. That's another really good way there. And of course, you obtain that expertise hopefully by practice, by with the building of something. And yeah, from there, it's just it's really about capitalizing is kind of the thing. So that is that's like step one. Step two was finding like an audience, finding a market for that work. And I was able to find a number of people who were very interested and wanted to do stuff. Went in and did a bunch of like big overhauls of one projects within. And I think there, like I said, I was kind of leading that effort for maybe 2 years or so until we started to just hit some like baseline baseline things that we couldn't really go in and change, that the company was just like very, very protective of, resistance to just using any new tools. And here's the embarrassing anecdote is that in one of the cases, the new tool was using Git, and it was a very process, very buy-in driven organization. And so at some point, just like any like little small piece that was proposed was like, all right, let's do a 6-month task force to see what is the what is the Git branching structure we should do, what is the file folder directory structure in a repo, what should that be, who needs to, who is the thing, who's the that, who do we need to give trainings to, and it's like, oh my god. There's it just was like a culture that was just very slow moving, and I felt that my efforts were not being put to the best use to go back and keep rolling with them. So anyway, I ended up seeking and then getting new employment. Again, I was able to, and a lot of this was off the back of, I was, even if, I had failed, I had not successfully, done a total DevOps transformation of the company. I had still done a lot and become like a really knowledgeable person in this field. Had gained a lot of on the ground leadership experience and sort of like project management experience at this smaller scale for some of the these CI/CD efforts. I was able to take that and put it on my resume, and that became like the big selling point that landed me this new gig. Is like that. I've been like a DevOps lead and owned all that before. And very, very, very self-motivated when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm going to toot my own horn a lot here. So that's kind of where I am right now. And I guess the really important thing is not just how I got here, but also where I want to go from here. And there's a couple of roads available to me, right? One thing that I've always been super interested in is kind of like building my own business, building something kind of from the ground up, being a founder, business owner, and because that's like the real way that you get your vision done, of like something really cool that you get to be part of, that you get to own. You obviously, you get the biggest payout if it works out, which is a big plus. But I spend a lot of time like coming up with ideas and working on things, and I feel like that is something in the future that I'd want to try to give it like a really, really good effort. And I've gone back and forth between there's a number of like web kind of projects that I'm interested in, some mobile app stuff, like little software services. But I think my true passion is in video games. Or gaming as a whole, and every time I have some free time, I think to myself, I'm like, even from a very early age, I'm like, what is the video game that I would most want to make and want to play? And that just keeps coming back to me. I keep on like getting in and working away, chipping away at little bits of like cool engine code that I've been that like a code base that I've been building up over the past like couple of years now, and it's been that is like something that in the future I would absolutely love to do. But obviously that's not quite what is going on in my new life here. So I'm, like I've said, I'm DevOps lead at this it's like a startup studio, startup incubator, whatever you want to call it. They their business model is like bringing up companies, kind of using internal resources and the cast of employees there until they need to get spun out into their own thing at some point. And there's an exit. So within that model, there are the ability for like outside founders to like bring in their businesses and get the team at the studio to work on it, or there's the option of like people internally are proposing ideas and businesses, and eventually turning that into their own thing. And so from there, this is like another super valuable piece of of the success advice is that be in that area where people are having those conversations, that are living the kind of lifestyle and have the contacts that you want to have, right? So I want to be somewhere in tech startup land, and so working at another tech startup, seeing a bunch of them pass through, super valuable insight and experience. And that's what has made me very, very excited to be part of this. That and the culture is fantastic, and the pay is pretty good too. So that is that's where I am right now, and I'm just in like the early stages of getting adjusted to that new job, obviously. Still trying to meet everybody, but I think the thing above everything is try to do my job, at least that do something valuable to that company. Set up the thing that they want, or in terms of all the DevOps stuff, whatever it is. And from there, like you use that credibility to really understand and get in contact with like the rest of the people that kind of know how that business works and who have say over things, and try to see how much like mutual exchange we could do. That's the name of the game, is the reciprocity. Do something nice for someone else, and then they will be very willing to help you out. At some point, maybe that turns into either like continuing to work there, like moving around in the ranks. It could be proposing like my own business idea to the startup and working on it in there, like, kind of like with that team. That would be pretty interesting. Or at some point I I get my bag and I leave to go do whatever the next chapter is, right? There's always a leaving. So there's a lot of options, and I think still right now the number one thing that I'm concerned with is just trying to get done this like initial assignment as best I can, of make good on kind of like the promise of why they hired me to go set this stuff up all from the ground floor, and see how things go from there. But apart from that, it's about making contact with all sorts of different people. And you're really getting an understanding of how the organization works. They're making me read this book, or not making me. They gave me a copy of this book called the First 90 Days. This is like some famous business book that's about how techniques for how leaders should transition into a new role. And one of the things, the main thesis, I guess, is, in the first 90 days, that should be the turnaround time for where you are able to provide more value to the business than they are providing to you, right? Where you, or at least you're more you're providing net value to the business versus being a drain on their kind of like resources, and in terms of requiring a bunch of onboarding assistance and training and payroll, obviously, without getting them any closer to their business goals. So, I guess the 90-day plan is to get in and do total DevOps takeover of the existing like software release process. And so I guess from where we are now, 90 days from now, or like 3 months from now, it's like the end of February. So we will call that like in March, May, and June, like end of June. Looking for something in there, and there's obviously there's other timelines kind of intersecting with that. But that is like that would be my first 90 days. And so their request is to kind of have a different big milestone and set of goals every month or so, right? For during this initial period, and I think that looks to me now I think we're going to dip into like some more of the technical details and the planning here. So hopefully this is still interesting. But I think that's going to look like within first 30 days. I'm hoping to have like the basic skeleton of what I want done, of having like a continuous integration CI/CD pipeline set up, or the main code base on at this company. And I think that is pretty achievable. I'm like creeping closer towards that goal every day. Still, still trying to like get set up with everything. The developer slash build environment is very shaky for this project right now. It requires like a ton of steps to get done. So I am as I go reverse engineering that as well, and trying to codify that, and because it's just as important to have a reproducible environment, because that's what you need to have like a reproducible end product, right? That's the whole thing. Excuse me. I just took my gloves off, and now I'm like getting congested immediately from the from the cold. Okay, so that's probably what first 30 days looks like. Is getting that build pipeline in place. Probably like a good amount of work is going to have to be done to create like to have like a build environment to run it, and a dev environment. So we'll have some good work done there on good work done there on setting some infrastructure to make those reproducible, and that's probably where I want it. Then month two is probably where we look at adding a lot of like additional test coverage and all the more nice to have features to things. So maybe some like version like metadata injection, some easier to consume packaging systems, and of course like I think big thing that they want is to be able to deploy to like a bunch of different pieces of like real hardware. So deploy definitely within that first 2 months. So that would be technical where I'd want to be, and then by month 3, I guess month 3 is where hopefully we see some of the cracks start to emerge of like things that need to be fixed. As I'm going through, one thing that exercise I've done before is like the value stream mapping thing. This is a Six Sigma, Kaizen, one of those like lean things. And with the way that pipelines sort of work, you are basically turning that value stream map of a developer makes a change to a code file, and how that turns into deployed program on piece of hardware. You're turning that into code, into also like infrastructure source code. So it's not just pure like imaginary process or some like whatever thing that people don't follow. Like that is like actually building that system out in like the realest way you can. So that's the that would be at day 90, in month 3, I would take like a good hard look after really understanding that whole value stream, I guess, and see where there are improvements to be made. Take a good holistic look at it, because at that point we're going to be much more mature as well. Product closer to maybe being production ready. So as we get towards like a production ready state, the level of the process has to change from just being about like the fast iteration for like the development stage to something that we can that is highly reliable to be able to push updates onto hardware. So that is I guess that's like the high level of technically what I want to accomplish. If I were to look at some other things, I think within like the first month, I'm looking to have kind of met everybody. It's a pretty small company, so I'm hoping to have like kind of met all the people around there, gotten like a nice little chat with everybody, figured out how the system kind of like works around here. I think I'm doing okay for day 2 or day 3 now on that front. So just kind of like looking to get an understanding of the organization, I'm looking to kind of like find out where, how what my schedule settles down into, because there are kind of like a number of things right now that I'm putting on pause until I get through the this sort of like onboarding adjustment period. I haven't been working out. Unfortunately, it's just been it's been tough to do that. And obviously, I'm figuring this out. This podcast, talking to myself, crap. That's a big one. And I just like in general, like how my social personal life, what that changes into, and like what that looks like, going forward with this. Because like I still have this very, I spent 3 days basically in between jobs unemployed, and I spent those 3 days writing like game engine, DirectX, Direct 11 3D, whatever the fuck it's called, code, and I loved every second of that, honestly. I wish that I had given myself more time for that. Because oh man, that was probably one of like the most fun periods of like working on something in my life. Is just because it's just, games are just awesome, and going in and really, at this point I've got like a good conceptual grasp of all the pieces of it and understanding, and going in and like really making that work from the ground floor. Just an awesome feeling, really, really fantastic. And I still, like I really want to continue doing that. Keep that working, keep that like an active part of my, like an active project that because hopefully at some point it turns into like writing an actual game, which would be pretty awesome. But it's something that I don't know in my new life here if I'll still feel that same way after like a month has passed or something, because that certainly was an outlet for my energy, for my desire to do engineering, design, cool stuff. Because I really wasn't getting that at my previous job. But I'm, day 2, day 3, I'm still feeling very inspired at this new work. But I haven't lost sight of that. I'm like looking over my shoulder. I'm like, oh, damn, I wish I could still keep at it. But it's possible that that sort of subsides, and it's just not. It ends up not being something that allows me to take this opportunity as far as it can. You understand. Because life, I think, when you're like really in it, when you're really doing things that are important, like that's when you have to figure out like what really does not matter to you, like what things are just like don't work as part of your identity anymore and schedule. Like I'm a pretty big, pretty nerdy guy. I've gone through basically all of the nerd hobbies at this point. I've run through the video gaming, the computer, all the computer adjacent stuff, Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, Magic the Gathering, Pokemons, all that fun stuff. Basically the guys at the local game store, in the comic store, they both love me. On the comics as well. And I'll tell you, like when I was in the real deep of it at my last job and trying, like firing on all cylinders, trying to make that things work out there. Basically all of that stuff kind of fell away. I didn't have time to do it, and I just wasn't really that interested because when you're really working that hard and firing on all cylinders, your mind is just projected all in this same direction of what next, like what do I do and devoting that energy that you have maybe for some hobbies, and and some people will tell you otherwise, but I found that like that's kind of turning that into my hobby or the thing that I was looking into on the side. Like that's what gave me that leg up, and allowed me to level up very quickly in understanding and of the doing of all of the DevOps related stuff. Uh, and I don't think it would have worked nearly as well if I hadn't turned myself into the person that it could work with. So that's like the right now that's my fundamental sort of like question is who do I want to be? Like what is the identity that I want to build and take away from this new job, this new experience. And so right now it is looking like there's a lot less. My habits actually haven't been kicked completely. I'm still like playing a little Pokemon on the side or something. Working on finishing that off. But once that kind of like all falls in line, and I think it is definitely getting there. Then it becomes the question of like longer term. Do I want to? Or like, will this place provide me the opportunity to do all the interesting things that I want to keep doing? Or is it, another kind of stepping stone to really build myself up, get a lot of experience working at different startups, seeing like the end-to-end, business creation, making some money and then leaving to do the next thing. That's an unanswerable question right now. Because it's going to depend like on if it works out for me or not. So I guess that all boils down to you got to find what aligns best with what you're interested in, and but there's an order of like what things are useful to be interested in, of like what things are most beneficial to other people. Like, working on my Warhammer army, it is really fun. It's really cool. You learn all these little painting techniques and doing all this stuff. But ultimately, that gives basically no one else any value aside from me, and that's where like. With this podcast, I'm trying to monetize some of those interests. We would call those we would call that sunk cost fallacy. But I think it's also worth like finding where you can draw on those things. Like just like being interested in those nerdy hobbies has let me connect already with a lot of the people at this new job. Obviously, startups are full of huge nerds. And in terms of if I ever want to get back or really devote myself to the quote unquote art life, develop a game or whatever it is, like obviously getting inspiration from other sources of media, other art forms is hugely valuable in developing out like your ability to come up with these ideas and piece things together. So that is, that's me, I guess. If I were to look, holistically at myself, I've become like a planner, I guess, or I've probably always been that. Someone who is good at figuring out like what the talent stack is that I need to have for like a role, and then devoting myself like all into becoming that and developing those skills and that knowledge, and that has landed me exactly where I am right now. I'm hoping I'm hoping things continue going really well. Hoping keep up the momentum, keep at it, and I don't know what else to say. I'm still on my drive though, so that's unfortunate. Couldn't quite fill the whole time with this, but I think that was a good topic. So thank you very much for listening. As always, I really appreciate your time. I hope sharing my story was kind of interesting, and maybe you have some you gain some insights or whatever into that as well, or into things that you could take away for yourself. I'm hoping, that's the reciprocity, right? But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Like, comment, and subscribe. And farewell.